Hey, and welcome to First Edition, the online ministry of First Community Church. I'm Reverend Sarah Keats, and I'm so glad that you've joined us today. On your screen, you're seeing a QR code. If you scan that with your phone, you'll be able to sign in and let us know that you're watching. You can also submit a prayer request and use that link to give. This Sunday, we are celebrating the Mexico mission trip in worship. Last month, we took 37 individuals from the church and built 3 homes in Tijuana, Mexico. We can't wait to share with you all about the trip and hear from participants as well. We hope you enjoy worship.
Courtney Studs. I'm a junior at Upper Arlington High School, and this was my second time going on the Mexico mission trip. I look forward to this trip all year round because it's such a special time shared by such special people. Because it was my second year, I was so much more in my comfort zone because I knew what to expect and I knew what to do. Because I was so much more comfortable, I was able to bridge out socially and get to know so many more people who I maybe knew but didn't get to know personally yet. This trip is just such a wonderful opportunity to build new relationships and strengthen some old ones. This year was very hot with temperatures reaching almost 100 degrees. On the hottest day, we actually had to leave the work site early because of dangerous working conditions. But then we got back to the campsite and we had 4 hours to spare until dinner. And while under this big tent, drinking lots of water, we were playing games, listening to music, reading, and talking to one another. And I just remember on this afternoon, I was able to reach such a complete relaxation because I had nowhere to be, like nothing to do, and I just felt so at ease. Sitting in my foldable chair, I was just taking deep breaths and soaking up this rare moment of peace and remind myself that even though I was there to work, I was also on spring break, and this was my time to rejuvenate my soul before returning back to normal life. I'm so grateful that Mexico gives me the opportunity to step away from my busy day-to-day life and reset my mind while also helping the world. This trip is such an amazing reminder of what is really important and what matters in life, and I always come back with a newfound sense of self and purpose. One funny story from the trip was that I was sitting around the fire with Nora, Sophia, Ryan, and Zoe doing what we like to call Amish circle time. And someone walked over to us and gave us 6 unused packs of Jiffy Pop popcorn, and they said that if we wanted to try it, we could. So we gave it a try, and we teared off the labels immediately, which had the instructions on it. So then we started trying to make this popcorn, but we just kept burning it, and it wasn't working. And people kept coming over to us and telling us that we were doing it wrong until we had quite a crowd around the fire. And then Will had the amazing idea to attach the Jiffy Pop to a piece of 2x4 wood and shake it over the fire, and that worked, and we all ate the popcorn in glory. I think that this story is such a wonderful representation of Mexico because it involves trying something new, not giving up when you're failing, working as a team, and having fun the entire way through. I thank all of my fellow participants for such the wonderful community they provide. I just love all of them so much, and I feel so grateful that I get to experience this. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Evan, and I also go to Upper Arlington, and this is my first year of many going to Mexico. Going to Mexico, I really had no idea what to expect. When I signed up, I thought it would be pretty similar to Camp Akita. You know, it's a similar group of people, and we're camping, but it was different in ways I can't really explain. And coming back, it was really weird. It was very simple in Mexico. We would wake up, go build houses, and come back and just chill. It was, you know, I had a sense of purpose doing it, and then coming back, everything felt so uncertain. But everything I learned from Mexico made up all the difference. I've never really encountered such a cultural difference. I've never been out of the country, and I've never met so many people who had no idea what I was saying. And let me preface this by saying my Spanish is not perfect, but for example, one day, I think it was the first day, we were mixing cement and we were laying the foundation of the house. And one guy who wasn't even part of the family, he sold ice cream, which sadly we weren't allowed to buy. And he came over and he wanted to help. So I asked him to grab a bag of cement and put it into the tray where we were mixing concrete. I missed a crucial part where I should have asked him to open the bag of concrete, because instead he just plopped it into the tray. And we all started laughing, and eventually he got it, and he started laughing too. And I think that moment really showed how great it was to connect with these people, and it shows how, despite the language barrier, there are universal things such as love and laughter that we shared. And I think after that, I realized that the world doesn't need to be so full of hate and barriers. There are these universal things that we share and we can connect through. I remember hearing one day Wyatt Walker, he said one year he went to Disney World and he missed Mexico so much and he wanted to come back. Next year, I'm going to Disney World, and I think I'm going to miss Mexico a lot, and I will definitely go a lot after that.
I want to say a special thank you to McCartney and Evan for your words today. Thank you for telling your stories. Evan, I'll be having a, oh yeah, we can applaud them again. Evan, I'll be having a word with your parents. You will not be going to Disney World next year. Thank you so much. Thank you. I am curious if anyone in this sanctuary, other than our current trip participants, has anyone here ever been on the Mexico mission trip before? Yes. Thank you so much for your service and for being some of those 3,000 people who have served from First Community. I hope that everyone, whether you've been on the trip or not, I hope that everyone takes some time before you leave church today to take a look at some of our photos that are out in the narthex. We had a lot of fun placing those. You'll notice that all the pictures of people on the roof are placed on the roof of the little house out there. Since returning from Mexico on March 25th, folks have been asking me, how was the trip? And the only thing I have to say is just one word: it was hot. As McCartney said, we had temperatures that were a high, like the high temperature was 97 degrees on this year's trip. In years past, we've seen snow, and that was not the case this year. Those 97-degree days are 25 to 30 degrees above Tijuana's average for this time of year. On a typical building day, we'll go to the work site around 8 a.m. We'll stay until 4 or 5 and do as much work as we can during that time. And on one day on this trip, it was so hot, as McCartney mentioned, we had to stop working at 1:30 p.m. I've never experienced anything like it. But despite the heat, our group of 37 was still able to successfully build 3 complete homes and hand over the keys to 3 deserving families. On this year's trip, our theme, we choose a theme each year, and this year's theme was roots and roofs. The idea is that we often sum up the whole trip by saying we went to Mexico and we put a roof over someone's head. And we say that because the roof feels like the most important part of the house. It's what shades us and shelters us and protects us. But we also know that a roof is only as strong as the structures below it. You can't have a roof without steady walls or a firm foundation. In fact, a house is kind of like a tree. A shady, beautiful canopy above means it has to have deep, strong roots below. On this trip, we built roofs for 3 families in the El Mirador neighborhood of Tijuana, and we also got to know a little bit about the roots going on beneath the surface of those families. Those families included the Tornes Sosa family, which is a mother living with her 6 children, the oldest of which works to support his mom and siblings. The Ramirez Herrera family, a family of 4, including 9-year-old Victor, who helped us build his home every day. And the Gomez Esquera family, a family of 10 individuals from 3 generations living under one roof, including a brand new baby. And you better believe we held that baby. We witnessed these 3 families' resilience and their radical hospitality of us. We got a glimpse of their stories, or the roots growing beneath the surface. And then back at the campsite, we spent our evenings around the campfire, and during that time, for our Roots and Roofs theme, we learned about some of the trees native to the Tijuana area. And I'm going to tell you about those trees today because I think these native trees have some sneaky lessons for us. So are you ready to learn about Mexican botany today? All right, first and foremost, this is the bujum tree. There it is. So the bujum tree is also known as the cirio tree. Cirio in Spanish means candle. See how the kind of ones that are straight up sort of look like a taper candle you might have on your dining room table. No 2 bujum trees are the same. Small changes in wind and sun and soil can cause them to grow in a new shape, like this one we see on the screen that is kind of curving down towards the earth and then swooping back up. Together, they make a landscape that looks kind of like a Dr. Seuss book. And they can do all of this growing and twisting and cool in different ways because they have really strong roots. Their roots wrap around rocks and anchor the boojum trees. And so the lesson I think they have for us is that the stronger your roots are, the more secure you feel in your community, the more freedom you'll have to grow in wonderfully weird and unique ways. On this year's trip, our group of 37 was a forest of wild and wacky boojum trees. People stepped outside their comfort zones. They were goofy. They made animal noises at each other. They named the cow on the campsite Mr. Bob. Mr. Bob was like a main character of this trip. We celebrated 3 birthdays on the trip. We had dance breaks on the work site, and we all bravely attempted to speak Spanish with varying degrees of success. We were able to do all of that because we felt so strongly rooted in each other. Like boojum trees, we created a community where each of us felt safe to be goofballs and try new things and mess up knowing that it was going to be okay. We laid strong roots with one another, and we grew weird and wonderful together. Our second tree today is the mesquite tree. There she is. Indigenous communities often call this tree the tree of life because it provides so much life to the area. As you can see, the mesquite tree is wider than it is tall, which means it can produce a lot of shade. Under a mesquite tree's branches, it can be 20 to 30 degrees cooler than the surrounding area, and that's why it is known as a nurse tree. Young cacti and seedlings from other plants can grow under its shade and its protective branches. And so underneath a mesquite tree, it almost grows like a little plant nursery under there. The wood of mesquite trees is very strong and burns for a long time, which is why you might have had mesquite smoked barbecue. And then mesquite trees also grow pods that animals can eat, but also if you grind up those pods, it can make a sweet flour for cakes and tortillas. So this is a reliable source of food in the desert for animals and humans. So the mesquite tree is able to provide all of this life in the desert because of its root system. A mesquite tree is a taproot tree, which means its roots grow deep down under the soil and tap directly into the groundwater. So it doesn't matter if it rains or not, the mesquite tree always has access to water. And so the lesson that I think the mesquite tree has for us is that the better you take care of yourself and tap into the things that nourish you, the better able you'll be to care for others. You can be a tree of life, but only if you care for you. On this trip, our group did an outstanding job of taking care of themselves so that they could care for others. They immediately understood the danger presented by the heat. I've never seen a group of people become so committed to physically taking care of each other and this is the harder task, more committed to taking care of themselves. People took breaks even without being asked. They told each other how they were feeling, and they put on sunscreen. Not a single person got sunburnt on this trip. Miracle of miracles. Never seen anything like it. And most importantly, I've never seen a group more committed to or encouraging of each other to drink water. And no one got dangerously dehydrated. Now, let me be clear. We all got mildly dehydrated. But there were no 911 dehydration emergencies, and that is something to celebrate for sure. Like the mesquite tree, this group recognized the importance of digging down deep and spending extra time to take care of themselves. They understood that if they didn't, there was no way they were going to be able to provide a home for others. All right, our last Mexican tree is the giant Mexican cactus, also known as the cardón cactus. And there will be a picture of it right now. This is the largest cactus species in the world. They grow over 70 feet tall, and they can weigh over 10,000 pounds. Their root system isn't strong like a boojum tree or deep like a mesquite tree. Instead, their root system is really, really wide. It expands out 50 feet around the cactus, just below the soil surface. And when it rains, the roots capture tiny drops of water like a net, and then it stores that water in the cactus's trunk. You know how a cactus kind of looks like it's ribbed? Those ribs expand like an accordion so it can hold all of that water. One cactus can hold hundreds of gallons of water. But my favorite thing about the Cardone cactus is that it acts like an apartment building for birds. Woodpeckers can make a hole in the cactus, and then the cactus responds by hardening the walls of that hole. And those hollow cavities are so strong and they last so long that the woodpecker family will move out and a different species of bird might move in. They put up a for rent sign, people apply. So it can host all kinds of different animals and all kinds of different species of birds. And those hardened nests are so strong that even after the cactus dies, which it can last 300 years, even after the cactus dies and withers away, the shell of those nests will still remain and people will find them on the desert floor. And so the lesson that I think the Cardone cactus has for us is if we cast a wide net and value even the smallest drops of love, we can store it up and care for so many. And if we do, our greatest legacy, the thing that will last long after we are gone, is the way that we served and sheltered and cared for others. One night on this trip around the campfire, we got to hear from John Wilson, the CEO of Amore Ministries. And one thing he talked about is how all the voices in the world, he kind of turned to our group and said, all the voices in the world are telling you not to come on this trip. They are telling you to only look out for yourself, to invest your resources only in your own future, not someone else's, and to certainly not go to Tijuana, Mexico. And then he thanked us for not listening to those voices. Because instead of listening to those voices, our group reached out their arms and soaked up all the little tiny voices that say yes. Maybe those voices came from their families, maybe it came from themselves, those voices came from God too. But those tiny yeses said, yes, these families deserve love. Yes, I am capable. Yes, I feel called to do this work. And by soaking up all of that yes and storing it up, they were able to create homes that are strong and safe and lasting for people they have never met and might never meet again. And that is the legacy of this trip, that over 3,000 people from this church have listened to those tiny little yeses and changed an untold number of lives in a community far away. Okay, so now what? I will tell you that I find that the most difficult part of the Mexico trip is coming home, because how could life in Columbus be meaningful after what we just experienced? So let's turn to our reading from the book of Job. For those who haven't read the book of Job, I don't recommend it. It's very depressing, kind of convoluted, but it's still a good one. It starts with Job, who's a prosperous and faithful man, but then he loses everything. His children die, his livestock are stolen, his own health fails. And then his friends show up and say some pretty awful things on top of it all. They say things like, Job, what did you do to deserve this? And Job, in all of his pain and grief, cries out to God. He asks God to help him, and then kind of says, well, no, just actually leave me alone, and in fact, leave everybody alone. Humanity is hopeless. Even trees have it better than we do. And that's the verse that we heard today, that Sarah read for us today. Job says that even a tree that is stripped of its branches, that's cut down, that's left in the dust, even after all of that suffering, if that tree encounters water, it can return to life. There's hope for a tree, Job says, because even the scent of water can revive it. If only that were the case for humans. And Job sort of wonders to God, if mortals die, will they live again? Then something unexpected happens. God responds. God speaks to Job, God spends time with Job, and Job is changed. Not because he gets the answers he wants. In fact, God doesn't really provide any answers at all. But because the relationship that Job forms with God changes him from the inside out. Job realizes that even in his suffering, God had been there all along. And the book ends with Job starting a new life. It's almost like Job is the stump and God is the water. And once Job gets even the scent of God's love, he is able to grow a new shoot. And if that's the case, if water is a metaphor for God, then it really puts this trip into perspective, because we really learned the importance of water on this trip. It was within us and around us. It strengthened the foundations that we built. It cooled us off. It kept us going. And I am also hopeful that each of us in our own ways encountered the love and nourishment of God in the same way. I hope that love empowered us to be ourselves, like the Bujum tree, that it allowed us to tap into our deep spiritual side, like the mesquite tree, and that we can store even the smallest drops of love up and use them all year long, like the Cardone cactus. And the best news? Like water, God can be found here in Columbus too, even if here it doesn't always feel like we need God or water quite as much. As for our Mexican families, we will never know the fullness of their roots or their stories. But I'm hopeful that for 5 days we were able to show them that they are loved, that they are worthy, and that they are valuable in this world. And if they were thirsty for love, I hope we quenched that thirst. There is hope for a tree, and there is hope for all of us. Amen.
Thank you so much for joining us on Mexico Celebration Sunday. We hope that you enjoyed this worship service. Up on your screen, you'll see that QR code again. Be sure to let us know that you joined us today. We love to know who's watching. You can also submit a prayer request, and we will have members of our church be praying for you. Again, you can also use that link in order to give. We hope to see you again next Sunday.